Today, we're going to talk about COVID-19 and child custody. I'm going to talk to you guys about court orders, best interest, who's sick, what if there's a quarantine, intervention and emergency custody, and the last will and testament, which probably most of you don't have. All right, let's get to it. I'm Janet Gemmel with Cape Fear Family Law down in Wilmington, North Carolina. Clearly working from home, isolating in home, but doesn't mean we're stopped working. Even though the courts have continued almost all of the cases in North Carolina other than emergencies, we still have some pretty important questions to answer, especially about how the novel coronavirus is going to affect custody and visitation. Everybody is calling and asking these questions. Nobody has the same two questions, but we're going to talk about the topics I've mentioned. Now, most of you already know whether or not you have a court order or not. If you have a court order, almost always the best legal advice that we can give you is to follow the court order. Follow it. Follow it. Yes, even then, follow it. There are very few exceptions. If you think that you personally have an exception to violate your court order, please get an attorney's advice. Although the courts are hearing only emergency issues, you can still have a motion to show cause or a motion for contempt filed against you. And when the court hears that, they could hold you in contempt for not following your court order. So, follow the court order. When in doubt, seek legal advice before you violate a court order, because the consequences can be great. Fines, attorney's fees, loss of custody or custodial time, and even jail. Now, many of you don't have a court order. Many of you might have just a separation agreement or a parenting agreement. Some of you might just have sort of a verbal agreement or a long-standing practice. And what I will tell you is operate in the best interests of your children. You know what's safe for your children. Now, let me stop here. Often, when I hear that people don't want to send their children in a crisis, it's because of a couple of things. One thing may be that they're having anxiety, and some of it could be unreasonable. I highly suggest you watch some of Shelley Chambers' anxiety videos on our YouTube channel to see, maybe are you following in that category, to where anxiety has become a problem versus a normal occurrence that we all have. Now, another reason may be that you think, or you know, you are the better parent, and therefore the children should have to be with you in a crisis. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's just you're thinking that. But at the end of the day, you have to operate within the best interests of your minor children. What happens if you're sick? You know, a lot of things have been said about children and COVID-19. Can they get it? But let's be fair. If you become sick, it may be time for you to pick up the phone and call the other parent and see if they would like to have the children in their care and custody. Of course, what if you show up for visitation and the other parent is ill and they have some of the symptoms of COVID-19? Do you have to leave your children? I think that's a case-by-case analysis. Do you have a court order? You may have to. Can you prove that they have COVID-19? Have you asked them to take a test? Is it something that they always have? Are they just somebody with seasonal allergies? You know, none of us know the right answers right now. It is a case-by-case best interest analysis. So make the best decision for your children. The best thing to do is to have a plan. Talk to the other parent ahead of time and say, if you're sick, will you tell me? If I'm sick, I'll tell you. And let's decide what's going to happen to our children if they're sick, if you're sick, if I'm sick, if a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, a daycare provider, anyone is sick. Very important. Okay. Now, children are out of school. What should you do if they're out of school and your schedule says, when the children are out of school, I should have them? Well, right now, children are still kind of expected at times to be on the school schedule. This is a crisis. So be reasonable. Try to follow your school schedule still under your custody order, because your children need stability in this time just as much as you do. Anxiety runs both ways, and children can get anxiety too. Try to stick to the same schedule, but also be helpful. If you are the parent who is not able to go to work and staying home and working, maybe you need silence and can't take care of little children. Ask the other parent to help. Maybe you're the person who can have the children there with you and have more availability. Offer. There is absolutely no way a court does not like to see. In other words, the court loves to see parents working together. They love that. Sometimes problems happen out of that, but you need to do what's in the best interest of your children. What happens if the other parent won't do what's in the best interest? You have the right to file a motion. And sometimes a parent's behavior in a crisis can be used against them. Don't let that be you. What happens if I'm quarantined? Sometimes, and especially right now on some of our military bases, soldiers and sailors are being told, do not leave base at all. And that includes their families. Well, in times of national security, sometimes custody orders may have to be broken. If the parent is told by a higher authority, the military, that they can't leave, they can't leave. But guess what that parent should do? They should ramp up and accelerate on FaceTime, online Skype sessions, and really help the child to engage in those and have fun things for the child and the other parent to do. Because the contact and the relationship, it's what's important. Have a backup plan. Listen, nobody wants to talk about having a last will and testament. Nobody wants to talk about death. But we have to, because taking care of your children is number one. Create a last will and testament. So many attorneys are still able to help you with this right now. This can be done through their offices. Call, set that up. Get an expert to help you set up your last will and testament and to make plans for your children. Now, mom and dad, primary custodian, maybe joint custodians, both of them are ill and in the hospital. What do? Let's have a backup plan. We might need to have a third party. That would be a grandpa, a grandma, sometimes a caregiver, sometimes an aunt or an uncle step in, and they may need to file some paperwork. They may need to file a motion to intervene with the court. They may need to file a brand new custody action and advise the court, hey, look, neither of these parents are able right now to take care of the minor children because of their illness. So we're stepping in. We have lots of room for emergencies to happen, and the court system is there to help those people. The court system is there to help all of you. Understand, not all of your problems are going to be emergencies, even if they feel like it. So just because the other parent does not agree with you that you should have the child right now, that's not an emergency. What may be an emergency is that the other parent's sick and will not give you the child. The other parent is ill and won't go to see the doctor. The child is ill and they won't take the child to see a doctor. Those may be emergencies. They sound like an emergency to me. Listen, we're not done talking about coronavirus, COVID-19, or custody. If you have questions, situations, comments, leave them below. We're still learning what we're going to do. Nobody even knows. So do what's in the best interest of your children. Stay healthy.